co-captains for the 1994 Lower Merion Soccer Aces, seniors John Hanks and Nate Laver. John, what can you tell me about this 1994 Aces varsity soccer team now that we have 12 training days and 4 scrimmages under our belt?
Well, this summer, it seems like everybody came into the preseason in better shape than usual, and everyone has their goals set really high for this year because we have a lot of potential, and everybody's a competitor, so I think we'll do really well this year.
How do you think being a captain for the second year in a row will help you in leading this team?
Well, last year as a captain, I had a lot of responsibilities because Matt Halpern got injured, and I had to pick up a little bit of his slack. So I guess I got a lot of leadership qualities, and I played in a lot of big games last year, and hopefully I can just help everybody get motivated and get ready for all the big games we have this year.
Nate, this team is senior dominated, with many of you being varsity members for 3 years. How much will this help us?
I really think this helps us a lot because this is a year we've all been dreaming of since we were in 3rd grade, and this year we really feel like it's our team, and it's our destiny to take control of. So I think having a lot of seniors, we really feel we're in control of the season, and we're very confident.
Leading a team, especially one with a lot of talent, is a big responsibility. How do you plan on handling this responsibility?
Well, this year I plan on leading by example. I'm in the middle of the field all the time, so everyone can see what I'm doing, and if I'm working hard and if I'm playing well, everyone's going to see that and maybe draw a little excitement from how I'm playing and get the whole team pumped up. And hopefully we'll go very far this season playing like that.
It was finally time to put the 3-week preseason training to the test. As the '94 captains took the coin toss, young nerves were certainly on edge. However, this year's squad was senior dominated, and that experience would certainly be needed with a schedule as tough as this one. Well, it was time to play. Everything seemed to be in place. Opening at home would certainly be a plus, as the Aces just didn't lose too often on their own field. After 10 minutes of feeling each other out, it was LM that broke on top. Junior Sean Ferber took a nicely switched ball from Nate Laver and fine sophomore Bob Lentz's head, who rammed it home for the Aces' first goal of the 1994 campaign. With only 10 seconds left in the first period, Bob Lentz's free kick finds John Hanks at the near post, and LM had doubled their lead. There was more to come in the second. Senior Gary Stern's long throw-in is banged home by senior Todd Davidson, and the Aces were running away. A few minutes later, John Hanks got his second of the day when he took a back pass from Josh Gordon and ripped home the Aces' 4th tally, and it was far from finished. A great pass play leads to a Nate Laver rocket from 27 yards out, still in the second quarter. Senior defender Michael Goldberg wanted some of the action, and his 30-yard missile whistled over the Viking keeper for a 6-0 LM advantage. In the fourth, Bob Lentz got his second when he picked up a loose ball near midfield and went all the way in to score.
Go, Bob. Yeah, Bob. Yeah, Bob.
John Hanks ended the scoring onslaught with his hat trick goal as he ripped a 25-yarder into the lower right-hand corner.
Hey, guys.
As the final whistle blew, it had been a grand debut for this Aces team. Hopefully, it would continue. Next on the schedule was Interact contender Penn Charter, who was always much tougher playing at home. The Quakers had an excellent chance to take an early lead, but shot over the open Aces net.
Come on, Carl. Come on, Carl. You got to have that ball. Come on, time!
Midway through the first half, Nate Laver lays off a nice square pass to Merritt Lentz about 23 yards out, and the senior got it all to give LM a 1-0 lead.
You, Nate. Touch.
Oh, we're going to foul him in.
Yes. Yeah.
9 minutes later, Charter would tie it up as a defensive miscue leads to a nice chip over helpless LM goalkeeper Todd Schreiner.
Hey. Oh. Look at your line speed. Look at the line speed. Close to play, Desi.
Opening the second half, the Aces' John Hanks hits the right post off the tap as he had the Quaker goalie clearly beaten.
Come on, LM, your half. Yeah, wake up. Come on, Michael. Get in there. Oh, God.
4 minutes later, he didn't miss as he blasted home a 25-yard free kick to put the Aces up 2-1.
Hey! All right, okay, set up.
It was Charter, however, tying it again, this time on a nice free kick of their own, and we were deadlocked at 2. Less than a minute later, Todd Davidson gets the lead back when he takes the baseline and follows his own rebound for the left-footed score. John Hanks got a second free kick from about the same spot as before, and the result was the same. LM had now opened up a 4-2 advantage with just 12 minutes remaining.
Go, Ben. Up to go, Ben.
You get 2 kicks here. John.
The Quakers struck back 90 seconds later to cut the lead back to 1. This time it came off a volley from a punched-out corner kick.
Set up. Get him, Bobby.
Key. Yeah, kid.
With 5 minutes left, LM had a chance to again go up by 2, but Todd Davidson's shot sails just over the open net.
Go ahead, Nate. Up in there, Bill. Through, Michael. Now touch through. Go, Toddy. Shoot.
Goalkeeper Kevin Holt makes a great save with 2 minutes left, and it looked like the Aces would escape with a 4-3 victory.
Come on, Nate. Nice. Come on, Jeremy. Come on, Jeremy. Go.
Yes, yes.
However, with under 70 seconds remaining, Charter star forward made an eye-catching side volley from just inside the 18, and the game ended in a 4-4 draw.
Oh, shit.
A disappointing result for the Aces, to be sure, but one they had to shake off.
Number 6.
2 days later, LM traveled to Lebanon to play in the always loaded Elko Invitational Soccer Tournament. Their semifinal opponent would be District 3 powerhouse J.P. McCaskey, who was coming off a 22-3 93 season and was returning their 2 best players. 2 minutes into the game, John Hanks' header off a Gary Stern long throw hits the post and goes wide. McCaskey had an early chance of their own, but goalkeeper Todd Schreiner made the save. With 12 minutes gone, McCaskey is awarded a penalty kick on a controversial call, but nonetheless converts and takes a 1-0 lead. Schreiner comes up big again on a McCaskey free kick late in the half, and in intermission, the Aces were still down 1-0 and playing poorly. In the second half, the Aces came out fired up and got a great chance to tie it just 4 minutes in. Nate Laver's header off a Bobby Lentz free kick goes just wide. A few minutes later, John Hanks took a Laver pass but shoots wide left, and it didn't seem to be the Aces' day.
Ball struck just wide.
Midway through the last 20 minutes, things started getting out of hand. First it was McCaskey losing a player to a red card, then it was one from each team. A minute later, 2 more players were ejected, and it was obvious, as it had been all game, that the referee had no control.
Who's that on?
McCaskey, playing 8 against 9, went up 2-0 with just 10 minutes left, and this time the Aces had to play from behind late in the game.
Stay with him, Mike.
Jerry Esselman with the...
Well, the intensity came back as Todd Davidson lit the fire with a nice goal, and LM still had 5 minutes to tie it up.
Grabbing the whole time. Put it in, Todd.
Yeah! Yeah, baby.
With the clock ticking down under a minute, Todd Davidson found himself going in all alone, but the McCaskey keeper came up with a huge stop to preserve their win and hand the Aces their first loss of the season.
Yes! Go, baby! Go!
Great save by the McCaskey.
In the third place game, with less than 90 minutes break, LM had to come back and play a well-rested Elko team and had to do it without two key starters lost to red cards from the game before. Playing on sheer guts and determination, the entire team showed their heart, and 10 minutes in, Bobby Lentz scored on a head flick pass from John Hanks, and the Aces took the early lead. Hanks added to the advantage 2 minutes before halftime as he beats 4 defenders and rips a left footer into the lower left corner.
John Hanks slots one under the outstretched arms of Jake Beanister for puts lower.
7 minutes into the second half, Hanks scored again, this time off a pretty first-time flick pass from Todd Davidson, and the Aces had a 3-0 lead.
Field 23-9.
Hanks could have had his hat trick when he took a beautiful pass from sophomore Jake Miller, but he just didn't get it all.
500 kids, would you say?
A little bit more.
Elko, in a bid to get something going, hit the crossbar late in the game, but the LM defense stood strong.
Great save.
In the end, the Aces got the win and the shutout and were back on track. The next day I talked with 3 members of the high-scoring offense. I'm here with 3 very important parts of the LM offense. Seniors Todd Davidson, Josh Gordon, and sophomore Bob Lentz. Todd, our offense has exploded for 16 goals in our first 4 games. Being one of the forwards returning from last year, did you expect this?
Yes, I expected it because I knew that our defense was going to be the key this year, finding a new sweeper and midfielders. But our offense is pretty much experienced in John and Josh returning and myself.
What does the offense have to do to keep scoring at this pace?
We just have to be mentally prepared for each game and just stay healthy.
Josh, we're 2-1-1 so far, with 2 more non-league games before we open our league season. How do you see our progress thus far?
Well, I think it's gone very well. I mean, with the injuries to Jeremy and John, I mean, it's been a loss, but I think we're really recuperating, and by the first game of the regular season, I think we'll be all right.
Being a senior, you've been around a few years. Who do you see as the teams to beat in the Central League?
Well, I think the teams to beat are Strathaven and Radnor. I mean, if we can beat them, I think we're going to have no problem winning the league.
Bobby, as a sophomore, making that big jump from freshman last year to varsity starter this year, have you settled in yet?
Yes, I think I settled in. We have a lot of great talent on this team, and hopefully I can be a big benefit to the team too.
You've scored 3 goals in the first 4 games. What do you have to do to keep up this pace or even score a little more?
I think I have to call for the ball more and check back, and hopefully I can get some more goals.
Well, we're counting on you 3 guys to keep it going. We want to average 4 goals a game. Good luck tomorrow with Haverford School, and good luck when the season starts next Tuesday with Marple.
Scoring goals this year doesn't seem to be a problem, as our offense has chalked up 16 in our first 4 games. Let's meet the members of this explosive unit.
Lentz. Next, LM traveled to play Interac rival Haverford School. The Fords had a good young team this year, and the Aces were playing without co-captain John Hanks. This would be a real good test. After a lackluster first 20 minutes, LM got the first real scoring chance. Nate Laver takes a quick free kick, and Gary Stern's cross is headed just over the bar by Todd Davidson. A few minutes later, sophomore David Bluvman gets it all from 16 out. but the Ford keeper made the save. With just 2 minutes left in the first half, the Ford's Andy Gold pounced on a long throw-in and beat LM goalkeeper Todd Schreiner to give Haverford a 1-0 halftime advantage.
To the man if somebody goes. Toddy, you control every rebound that comes out.
Midway through the second half, Bob Lentz's header hits the post as the Aces just couldn't seem to buy a goal. Five minutes later, Todd Davidson's flying side volley hits the crossbar but bounces out.
They're strong, Red.
Despite all LM's pressure, it was Haverford School getting the next goal. A nice Jamie Marshak cross finds the head of an open Andy Gold, and things looked bad for the Aces.
Take charge. Jeremy and Nate in the middle. Start talking. Merion.
However, with less than 8 minutes left, LM finally solved the Ford's defense. Nate Laver follows a long through ball, beats the last defender and the keeper, and all of a sudden, it's a one-goal game.
Come on, Nate. Nate, you gotta make it. Come on, Nate.
With less than 2 minutes left, Todd Davidson takes a long ball from junior Peter Luongo and bangs home the tying goal, and the excitement was back. Not content with the tie, LM almost had a third goal with less than a minute remaining. Nate Laver found a wide-open Merritt Lentz, and his first timer is saved nicely by the Ford keeper, Miles. This 2-2 tie brought the Aces' record to 2-1-2, and next up was Episcopal.
Go, Bob.
The Aces knew that the Churchmen had been playing well thus far, and they always got up for this rivalry. The question would be, would the Aces also be ready? The first good scoring chance went to EA when an Eric Hopkins cross is shot wide just 7 minutes in.
Hey, Rose.
5 minutes later, Todd Davidson walked the ball past two defenders, but shot right at the keeper to keep the game scoreless.
Looks like it's going to recover and then Yeah, Gandhi! Go ahead, hit it.
A short time later, Merritt Lentz took a Davidson pass in alone, but again, the ball is shot right at the keeper.
Hey, Jerry.
Play that down. Come on, let's go.
In the third, after two uneventful periods, David Bluvman gets an open shot, but just doesn't get it all. Goalkeeper Todd Schreiner kept the game scoreless when he made a magnificent save off a left-footed rip from Joby Hollinger. A few minutes later, the Aces were dealt another bad blow when Todd Davidson, trying to avoid the Episcopal keeper, lands on and breaks his forearm. Things went from bad to worse when LM's David Bluvman was red carded for elbowing the Churchman goalkeeper, and the Aces had to play a man short for the remaining 30 minutes.
Get in there, get in there. I knew you'd come over. God, he's going to win an Oscar for it.
LM kept the pressure on as Merritt Lentz rips a 20-yarder that is deflected wide.
Out wide.
Finally, with 8 minutes remaining, EA got the only goal they'd need as the Aces defense gets caught napping and Eric Hopkins finally beats a helpless Kevin Holt. In a last-ditch effort, with only seconds left, an LM free kick is headed high and wide, and the Aces pick up their second loss of the season. Standing at 2-2-2 overall and missing several key players, the Aces began league play with a home game against Marple. With less than a minute played, LM jumped out in front. The ball went from Josh Gordon to Merritt Lentz to Nate Laver, who ripped an 18-yarder into the upper right-hand corner, and it was obvious that the Aces' passing game was back. LM wanted more, as late in the first, Merritt hit the crossbar with a dipping 25-yarder. The Aces continued to move the ball well with a series of 1- and 2-touch passes, and everything was starting to come together. Another bright spot was seeing John Hanks back in the lineup, even though he was still on the mend and getting limited action.
There's a big kick.
Midway through the third period, Josh Gordon's corner kick found a Marple defender and ricocheted into the goal as LM had doubled their lead. In a bid for a third goal, Sean Ferber blasted a 23-yard free kick just wide late in the third quarter.
8 minutes.
The LM defense took over from there, recording their third shutout of the season, and the Aces went 1-0 in Central League play. Next on the Aces League schedule were the Lions of Pencrest, and playing in a driving rainstorm would make things even more difficult. However, LM started strong once again, as Gary Stearns sent a long ball toward the edge of the box. Merritt Lentz made a nice head pass to Sean Ferber, who in turn volleyed it over the keeper's head for a 1-0 lead. The Lions got only long-range shots, like this one that is saved late in the first period by goalkeeper Todd Schreiner. However, with the rain and wind, crazy things can happen. And they did, as a 45-yard shot carries over Schreiner's head and into the LM net to tie the game up with less than a minute left in the first, much to the delight of the Pencrest football team.
Let's go, Kenny!
Oh, damn.
The rain picked up in the second period, but LM battled the elements well and picked up a second and third goal, both off the foot of John Hanks, to take a 3-1 lead. Let's now listen to some of the play-by-play by some visiting English announcers.
John Hanks, the ball. Nice move. The shot. John Ferber. Ba-bam. Oh, the ball's out. Looks like a corner kick.
When it was finally over, the Aces had raised their record to 4-2-2 and were a perfect 2-0 in the league. It was time to talk it over with several of the Aces midfielders. Four of the Aces midfielders, senior Merritt Lentz, junior Sean Ferber, and sophomores David Bluvman and Jake Miller. Merritt, you've bounced around a lot so far due to all the injuries we've had. Is this a tough thing to do at this level?
Well, I think since I've been a sophomore, I've played many positions for this team, and now that I've settled in at stopper, I think I can do a good job at marking the other team's center mid, and I just think I can do a good job at that.
We're 2-0 in the league and slowly getting back to full strength. Where should our focus be at this point in time?
I think regardless of what's happened to the team and injuries and sickness, I think now that everybody's getting healthy again, we should focus as a team and play the way we know we can.
Sean, we're 4-2-2 overall. Is this where you expected us to be after our first 8 games?
I expected us to be a little better than this. We didn't have a very good showing against Bonner, although we won, and we also lost to Episcopal.
We lost John for a while. Todd's out for a couple more weeks, and Jake should be coming back next week. How are we coping with all these injuries?
I think key guys are stepping up. The seniors, Nate and Merritt, are playing much better, and I think that we're going to be better.
David, coming back from the freshman team last year to varsity this year, what do you see as the biggest differences in trying to adapt to this level of play?
Well, obviously there's a lot of differences between playing for the freshman team and playing for varsity. I think the two biggest are probably, number one, skill level. You can't get away with a lot of dribbling. It has to be a lot more of a team concept. And the other simply being endurance. You got to stay in much better shape to play at this level.
Going into the meat of our schedule these next several weeks, how is our team attitude?
I think right now we're a very determined team. The championship hopes seem very realistic. We're really optimistic for the next couple of weeks. We should do very well, better than the first couple of weeks.
Jake, it's always hard to sit out with an injury. What's going through your mind right now?
Well, I'm really disappointed about my injury. I'm just keen on getting back as quickly as I can.
When do you come back next week? What is your first order of business?
I just want to play as well as I can, a lot better than I have been playing, maybe score a couple goals.
Well, we hope that our midfield play continues at the level it now is, and we're counting on all 4 of you to keep it going.
A top-notch midfield unit has allowed us to develop a very good passing game. Here are the players that make it happen. Senior co-captain Nate Laver was the go-to guy in the middle.
Besides anchoring the defense, he scored 11 goals and dished out 9 assists. This, along with his tremendous work rate and high skill level, earned him first team All Central League honors. Senior Merritt Lentz was probably the most versatile player on the team. During the season, he played stopper, midfield, forward, and sweeper, and played them all well. He was chosen to the second team All Central League. Junior Sean Ferber was one of our outstanding wing midfielders. He was always called upon to mark the opponent's best midfielder and still managed to score some goals himself and make things happen up front. Sophomore David Blumen shared time between midfield and back. His tremendous speed and never back down attitude helped him develop into one of the team's most improved players. Another sophomore, Jake Miller, had the poise and drive of a veteran. He too was a two-way player and could always be counted on to get the job done. Look for Jake to be a key player for the Aces next year. Saturday, the Aces would host non-league opponent Bonner and try to continue their momentum from the back-to-back league victories. The Aces again jumped out early as Sean Ferber sent Bobby Lentz into the corner, and he was pulled down in the box for a penalty kick, the first of the year. Nate Laver got the call and placed it low left, and it was 1-0 Aces. Late in the first, John Hanks takes a long head pass and hits the crossbar.
Get it off him! Get it off him! Get it off him!
Playing very sluggishly for most of the afternoon, the Aces finally added to their lead early in the third. John Hanks' free kick is headed home by Nate Laver, and it was 2-0. After some good ball movement, Sean Ferber crosses to an open Bob Lentz, but his header goes wide.
Get it off him! Get it out of there! Get it out of there!
Despite picking up a 2-0 shutout win, the Aces had to wonder if the inability to convert their many scoring chances would have any effect in the upcoming week. Next on the league schedule were the Raiders from Radnor. Gone were name players like Cecchio, Klaus, and Nogales, but they were always tough. In the first 50 seconds, Radnor's Andy Leone took a cross from Jamie Day and ripped it into the upper left-hand corner, and the Raiders were thinking upset, much to the chagrin of video man Joe Lento.
Oh, shit.
The Aces, however, were determined on this day and didn't let themselves get down. A few minutes later, Bob Lentz gets a break, but keeper Shoemaker comes up big. Several minutes later, LM struck pay dirt. Jeremy Alva's long clear was headed forward by Bob Lentz, and John Hanks did the rest, beating Shoemaker with a nice lob volley, and we were tied at 1. The Aces kept the pressure on in the first as Merritt Lentz's free kick found his brother Bob's head, but the shot hits the crossbar and bounces out. At the other end, LM needed 2 big saves by keeper Todd Schreiner in the closing minutes of the period to keep it level. In the second, John Hanks gets another rip, but it hits the crossbar from 25 out and bounces away.
Help him out!
Midway through the third, all the LM pressure would pay off again. Peter Luongo followed up a John Hanks rebound and made no mistake, and the Aces had a 2-1 lead. Most of the Radnor offense centered around Andy Leone, and LM's Gary Stern did a fine job shutting him down the rest of the way. Midway through the fourth, a sweet passing sequence leads to a John Hanks shot that just misses, and it was obvious that the Aces were on their way back. This 2-1 victory ran the Aces league record to 3-0 and in a tie for first place. Next, LM traveled to Ridley, a field where they always had trouble. While the Aces started slowly, Ridley managed to generate a little offense off their long throw-in. And with 2 minutes left in the first, it would pay off. Once again, LM was in an early hole. However, just a few minutes into the second, John Hanks would tie it up. He took a pass from Bob Lentz, carried across the middle, and ripped a 25-yarder that was still rising as it went by the Raider keeper. At intermission, the score remained 1-1, and the Aces knew they needed to start playing like a team to get it going. Bob Lentz started the fireworks in the third when he took a long ball from Josh Gordon and beat Ridley keeper Showerman to stake the Aces to their first lead of the game, but they were far from finished.
Johnny, look wide! Let's go! Through the ball!
Now, shoot.
Just a few minutes later, John Hanks got his second goal of the game when he took a nice pass from Merritt Lentz, beat two defenders, and slid it into the corner. Early in the fourth, Bob Lentz set up the next goal when he carried the ball into the box and was pulled down, resulting in a penalty kick. Nate Laver got the call, and all of a sudden, it was 4-1 Aces. Bob Lentz then rounded out the scoring when he took a nicely switched ball from John Hanks and booted home his second of the game. This win took the Aces to 4-0 in the league, 7-2-2 overall, and earned them a ranking of 13th in southeastern Pennsylvania. Springfield would be next on the league schedule, and the Aces could not afford a letdown. 8 minutes into the game, with the Aces controlling play, they got their first goal. After some nice build-up, Nate Laver sent a shot toward goal that a sprawled Todd Davidson tipped past keeper Harms, and it was 1-0. Later on in the first, Merritt Lentz gets off a 25-yarder served up by Nate Laver, but it sails just over the bar. Less than a minute later, Laver doubles the LM lead when he converts a Sean Ferber corner kick. Early in the second, LM struck again. Sean Ferber laid off a quick free kick to Merritt Lentz, and the rebound off his 20-yard missile was put away by Todd Davidson for a 3-0 Aces lead.
Come on, forward!
Midway through the second, John Hanks makes it 4-0 when he took a long Nate Laver pass and beat two defenders and the keeper before finding the lower right-hand corner. This win kept the Aces undefeated in the league and primed for the showdown with Strathaven. I talked with 4 of the LM defenders the next afternoon.
John.
Members of the Lower Merion defense. Defensive back, senior Gary Stern, sweeper back, junior Jeremy Alva, and wing backs, junior John Henredig and sophomore John Haig. Gary, we'll start with you. You're the only returning starter to the defensive back unit. What responsibility does this put on your shoulders?
Basically, I think being a returning starter doesn't put any extra responsibility on me. I think each of us on the defense has a responsibility to do our job to the best of our ability and to play as a unit and to encourage each other and to get a positive feeling throughout the defense.
We're 5-0 in the league, and we have Haven tomorrow night. You've prepared for these types of games before. What do we have to do to get ready?
I think everybody knows how important of a game this is. I don't think that'll be a problem. I think the intensity will be there. I think the main thing is that we, as a team, we have to go together, and we have to do everything together. And when we're out there, we have to totally play as a team. One person can't do the job. Everybody has to contribute.
Jeremy, you've taken over our sweeper back position this year and done a fine job. Are there things you're still working on to make this adjustment complete?
I'm trying to work on my talk in the back and be a bit louder and kind of control the field a little more. And the second thing is I'm trying to turn my hips more when I try to clear the ball, because lately I've been clearing it out wide and giving the other team throwing, so I'm just going to try to working on my clearing a little more.
What does our defense have to do during this stretch drive toward a possible Central League title?
I think as Gary put it, stay as a unit, because the defense, it's basically on our shoulders back there, and we just got to stay as a unit and keep close and talk to each other and just know where each other are, because that way then no one's going to score on us.
John, togetherness as a unit is very important in soccer. Is our defensive unit a tight group?
I'd say we're a very tight group. We're all good friends, and we can fool around during practice, but when it comes time for the games, we're all tight and keep everything together.
We seem to play better on our home field, but unfortunately we play both Strathaven and Haverford away, the other two contenders. Does this make a difference?
Well, now that we're 4-0 on a streak, I'd say that nothing should stop us. We're on a roll, and I think that any field that we play on is just as good, and we should take them.
John, you've got kind of a late start. With a broken collarbone during the summer, you had to play your way back into shape with a JV team. Are you back at full strength now?
I'd say so. It took me a little while in the beginning to get ready. I was a little slacking a little bit, but now I think about the back full speed now.
As a team, during these final weeks of the regular season, where should our focus be?
I think our focus should be the same as it was, keeping one game at a time, just going for that goal, and just working together, playing our game, and then I think we should have a great season.
Our young defense has registered 6 shutouts so far this season and is getting stronger with each game. Who are they? Let's take a look.
Senior goalkeeper Todd Schreiner had a great year for the Aces. His lightning-quick reflexes and his ability to come out and challenge opposing shooters helped him The Panthers were coming off an emotional 2-1 loss to Haverford on Tuesday, so this was a do-or-die game for them. There would be a good crowd on hand as usual to see these two soccer powers battle it out. It was also important for the Aces to play their game and not give away any early gifts. However, with a little over a minute played, the Panthers drew first blood. Donald Eady first time to cross, and again, LM was in an early hole.
Who's got a man open? Who's got 22?
Things got worse midway through the first when another cross was again first timed, and the Aces now were looking at a 2-0 deficit. It seemed like everything Haven shot was finding a corner, like this 25-yard left footer that puts them ahead 3-0 in the second period. Meanwhile, at the other end, the Aces couldn't buy a goal. Midway through the second, John Hanks headed the ball toward an open net, but it was cleared just before it rolled in by a hustling Peter Luzak. Persistence finally paid off 5 minutes into the third when Hanks converted a free kick, and the Aces had life. The momentum, however, was short-lived, as Haven converted a penalty kick late in the third to take a 4-1 advantage. The Panthers added 2 more late in the game to make the final 6-1. This loss dropped the Aces back into a tie with Haven for second place, just 1 game behind league-leading Haverford. Next on the schedule were the Rams of Harriton, which of late had developed into a fierce rivalry. After a first period that saw Harriton typically fall back into a prevent defense, LM's Nate Laver gets a rip from 25 yards out. A few minutes later, the Aces got on the board when Todd Davidson rammed home a Bob Lentz corner kick, and the Rams would now be forced to play straight up.
Come on, Bob, let's go. Wait!
With 6 minutes left in the first half, Davidson got his second goal of the game, this time coming from a cross from Gary Stern, and it was 2-0 at intermission. A few minutes into the fourth, Todd Schreiner made a great save on a Tim Bradley shot to keep the 2-goal cushion. Five minutes later, it was Schreiner again, this time coming up big on a Nicky Harmelin shot. John Hanks then put the game out of reach in the fourth as he beat 2 defenders and hits an outside of the foot rip for a 3-0 lead.
Nice, Johnny. Let's take a shot. Look at him jump up. Drive and come. Come on, John. Come on, John. That's the way to all the pushing and grabbing.
As the 2 teams walked off the field with LM a 3-0 victor, one had to wonder how long this rivalry would last. It was back into the league again with the Royals of Upper Darby. The Aces wasted no time getting things going as John Hanks took a ball in a crowd just 5 minutes in and found a corner for a 1-0 LM lead. A few minutes later, Hanks found Merritt Lentz, and his 25-yarder went into the corner for a 2-goal margin. With 10 seconds left in the first, LM made it 3-0 when Nate Laver headed home a Josh Gordon corner kick. But the Aces were not done yet. Early in the second, another Laver header is stuffed home by John Hanks, and the rout was on. A few minutes before halftime, Laver got his second goal of the game when he carried open space and blasted a 20-yarder past the Royals keeper. In the third, sophomore Jake Miller got his first goal of the season as he took a bouncing ball and hit a well-placed shot into the left-hand corner. Off the ensuing tap, Todd Davidson got on the board less than a minute later when he pounced on a miss kick and slid it past a helpless keeper. UD avoided the shutout when Brian Bond headed home a fourth quarter free kick. When it was over, the Aces walked away with a 7-1 win and hoped they would now be ready for first place Haverford. Well, everything was on the line. An LM win would create a 3-way tie at the top of the standings, and a loss would give the Fords their first league title in quite some time. Early in the first, John Hanks was pulled down in the box, but there was no call.
Go ahead, you got a good shot, kid.
After a lackluster period by both teams, the Fords got their first good scoring chance midway through the second off a corner kick, but the ball was finally saved. With the score 0-0 at halftime, LM got caught napping in the first minute of the third period, and Sean O'Connor slipped past the defense and beat Todd Schreiner for a 1-0 Ford advantage.
Saving the seat. I got to save.
Knowing that the next 5 minutes were very important, the Aces again let down. This time it was a long Josh Pincus throw-in that was headed home, and the Aces were down 2-0.
What just happened? AJ and Gary were pushing problems. He was full of motivation.
Thanks.
In bad need of inspiration, the Aces continued to flounder and had to be bailed out by goalkeeper Todd Schreiner twice in the next 8 minutes.
Stay on them. Stay on. Let them turn.
Way to go, Todd.
Here goes.
Yeah, way to go, Todd.
Things went from bad to worse as late in the third period, LM's Todd Davidson was red carded, and the Aces had to mount their comeback effort with only 10 players. Early in the fourth, it looked like things might get started as John Hanks got a point-blank shot, but it was right at the Ford keeper, and the save was made.
Make it a good shot.
Come on now. Get one back. Come on now. Big one. Big one. There it is. Come on, Red. Get in there. Some help in there. Come on, John. Come on, John.
The game ended 2-0, and so did any Aces' hopes of a league title. It was now time to regroup, finish strong, and get ready for the district playoffs. I got some insight the next day from 5 of the Aces players. The 2-0 loss to Haverford ended our chance of a league title. What do we have to do now?
Well, I think right now we have to put that game behind us. We found out that we have to dig deep during the games, and hopefully tomorrow against Conestoga we can find out how good we are and bounce back after our loss.
Have you been happy with the performance of our defense so far this season?
Yeah, I've been pretty happy overall. Taking into consideration that the defense this year only had 1 or 2 returning starters, Gary Stern and myself, I think we bounced back and played pretty well. Hopefully we can do better in the playoffs.
Kevin, how big a part does the keeper play in the defensive unit?
I think the keeper plays a big part in the defensive unit. First of all, he's got to be the guy who holds the defense together, and also, if the defensive players make any mistakes, he's got to come up with a big save.
Now that the playoffs are coming up, do we have to make any adjustments defensively?
Maybe just moving a few people here and there, but I think we'll be all right for the playoffs.
Peter, you began the season playing it back. We moved you up, and you scored a couple of big goals for us, including that one against Radnor. Where do you feel most comfortable?
Well, I guess right now I feel comfortable playing up front, but mostly I'm concerned with playing wherever is helpful for the team, and that's what playing up front is now.
How big is this game with Conestoga tomorrow, now that we have third place in the bag?
I think it's very important psychologically for us, and it'll also help to give us some recognition and just to prove that we can beat a team that is higher up than some of the teams like Upper Darby or Pencrest. So I think it is important for us.
Billy, after a good preseason and 1 regular season game, you went down with a season-ending injury. That had to be very disappointing for you.
Yeah, coming off an injury from last lacrosse season, it was especially troublesome for me, and I'm trying to get through it, and I'm trying to get ready for maybe the playoffs.
Through it all, though, you've stayed very involved with the team and tried your best to come back. How ready is this team for the district playoffs?
Well, ever since 7th grade soccer, we've been talking about a state title for this LM team, and I think this is definitely the year we can do it.
Mike, you're coming back off an ankle injury yourself, just in time for the last few games in the playoffs. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm definitely ready. My endurance could use a little work, but my skills and everything and game sense is just fine. I'm definitely ready.
Realistically speaking, what are our chances in the playoffs?
I think we have a great team this year. We have a lot of skill, and I think our chances are as good as we want them to be. We can go as far as we want to.
After the title hope-ending loss to Haverford and before Conestoga, the Aces were ready to take it out on somebody, and New Hope was in the wrong place at the wrong time. Just over a minute in, John Hanks took the ball down the left wing and centered it, off the keeper and into the net for a 1-0 Aces lead. Two minutes later, Josh Gordon hit a beautiful left footer into the upper right-hand corner. With only 5 minutes gone, Bob Lentz found Hanks in the slot, and it was 3-0. 2.5 minutes later, Nate and John worked a nice give and go, with Nate getting the honors. And with only 7 minutes played, the Aces were in front 4-0, and still far from finished. Next it was the brothers Lentz, with Merritt putting over a nice cross and Bobby heading it home. At the end of the first, Bob Lentz got his second goal of the game when he took a nice pass from Nate Laver, and after the first 20 minutes, it was 6-0 Aces. After a structured second period, John Hanks opened a third with a head goal off a Merritt Lentz free kick. Senior Matt Cohen wanted in on the action, and he converted a Bob Lentz cross.
Oh, come on. Yes.
Bob got his hat trick a minute later when another Nate Laver assist found its mark. Peter Luongo finished off the scoring on a nice assist from Brian Riley. Don't get too excited, Peter. This 10-0 win brought the Aces' overall mark to 11-4-3 and kept their ranking in southeastern Pennsylvania top 20. It was time to finish up league play, and their last opponent would be the Pioneers of Conestoga. LM would finish third, win or lose, but desperately wanted to gain some momentum going into the playoffs. After the Aces buzzed the Conestoga net for the first 8 minutes, it was Stoga getting on the board with their first shot of the game. One and a half minutes later, they struck again, this time off a long throw, and LM was in a deep, early hole. The Aces continued to pressure the Pioneer defense, but once again came away empty.
Oh, good, Shawnee. Nice shot. Nice, Shawnee. Look at that thing.
Late in the second, more LM opportunities were squandered. They just couldn't get that first goal.
Wow. John, that's it. Come on, John, right on over. Go, John. There it is. Get in there.
Oh, man.
In the fourth, Nate Laver sent John Hanks away alone, but the Stoga keeper makes a big save.
I'm fine, thanks. No one, Nate, no one. There you go, Johnny,
Midway in the fourth, the Pioneers got their third goal, this time coming from a free kick. The Aces avoided the shutout when John Hanks connected on a penalty kick late in the game, and the Aces had played good enough to win but didn't. One had to wonder how this would affect the team's confidence. In their last regular season game, the LM soccer program held Senior Day. On this day, all the seniors and their parents would be honored for their continued support of Lower Merion soccer. It was a nice way to end the regular season, and well-deserved for all the honorees. When the opening tap finally came, the Aces knew that something good had to happen today if they wanted to make any kind of postseason run. Well, it didn't take long. Just 3 minutes into the game, Bobby Lentz sent a nice ball to John Hanks, and it was 1-0 Aces.
Nice.
5 minutes later, LM added to their lead when Lentz found Sean Ferber this time, and it looked like it was going to be an easy day. However, in the last few seconds of the period, O'Hara got on the board to make it 2-1. A few minutes into the second, O'Hara shocked the Aces by tying it up when the defense fell asleep, and all of a sudden, it was a tight contest. Through the remaining part of the second and all during the third, the Aces applied pressure but just couldn't score. After coming out determined in the fourth, all this pressure finally paid off, and paid off big. In the first 3 minutes, it was Laver to Lentz, and the Aces had the lead back 3-2.
Keep him open, Matt. Watch that number 9. Go, Bob. Come on, Bobby. Keep your foot down.
Minutes later, Todd Davidson took a head flick from John Hanks and finds the corner.
That's it, Ryan. Way to win that ball. Nice, Jeremy. Go ahead, Chino. Oh, no!
Oh, God, he hit his hand. I can't stand it.
3 minutes later, Hanks heads home a Josh Gordon corner, and it was all over but the shouting.
When you could walk, you couldn't protect yourself.
Come on. Get her up here.
Get it in, get it in.
Yeah.
This 5-2 victory gave LM a 12-5-2 overall record with a ranking of 18th in southeastern Pennsylvania. And as the regular season comes to an end, and before the playoff action begins, it's time to present our annual awards to those individuals who were able to get just a little more out of their season besides soccer. The Bowling for Dollars award is up for grabs between the two co-captains. Against Marple, John Hank shows his form in picking up a 2-pin spare. Let's watch. I believe it's the 7-10 split. As usual, we'll run it again. Ooh, one was slow falling, but he got them both. Nate Laver isn't about to be shown up, as here against Quakertown, he only converts a 1-pin spare, but he does it with style and grace. I believe it's the number 11 pin. Well, it was on to the district playoffs again for the 11th time in the last 11 years. Only one other District 1 team has done this, and that's Strathaven. The opening round opponent would be Quakertown, a young, fast team with an explosive offense from the Suburban Freedom Division. LM's goal, as the opening tap finally came, was to nullify their offense by taking the ball out of their possession and keeping all the pressure on their inexperienced defense. 5 minutes into the game, LM got on the board. Bob Lentz's corner was flicked on by Nate Laver, and John Hanks was there to finish it off. And the Aces had scored the first goal, and were 12-0-1 when doing so during the season. Bob Lentz got another chance minutes later, but shot high. The Aces were getting great play from senior Merritt Lentz, who was now taking over the sweeper back duties. Late in the first, Hanks breaks in on goal, but the keeper was able to smother the ball.
We're playing. Yeah.
Wait, John. Take a shot.
Thank you. Pretty good. Yeah.
Early in the second, Hank sends a nice ball to Todd Davidson, but he doesn't get it all. LM continued to get scoring chances. First it was Hanks again, then an 18-yard rip by Nate Laver, and finally a David Bluvman shot, with the ensuing corner kick being blasted right at the keeper. The Aces didn't score again, but they didn't need to, as the defense recorded their 9th shutout, and LM was on to a second-round showdown with Sun Valley. The Vanguards were seeded 5th in the district tournament, were the 2-time defending Del Val champions, and sported a 17-2-1 record, but the Aces were not impressed. It would certainly be a stern test for LM, who finally seemed to have everybody healthy and in the right positions. Just 1.5 minutes into the game, Merritt Lentz played a long switch ball to Todd Davidson, who in turn laid it out to John Hanks. Hanks took the corner, beat keeper Conway with a beautiful cross, and Bobby Lentz did the rest, putting the Aces ahead 1-0. Unfortunately, it is not shown here, but will be shortly. LM continued to apply the pressure as Bobby Lentz ran down a long ball and chipped it just over the keeper's head as he tipped it over the bar.
Let's go!
A few minutes later, it was Davidson's turn as he outran 2 Valley defenders and ripped a volley that saved.
Come on, let's go.
Go, Tommy! Come on, Todd.
Early in the second, LM added to their lead. Merritt Lentz again sent a nice through ball to Todd Davidson with a brilliant dummy by Hanks, and Todd went in low on Conway for a 2-0 lead.
Come on, Bear! Come on, Barrett! Get up there.
It was definitely all aces, as first Todd and John work a nice give and go, and a little later Nate Laver finds his way to goal, but the save is made.
Come on,
Meanwhile, most of the Vanguard's chances were limited to play off of their long throw-in. With just 5 minutes left in the third, LM received a big blow when John Hanks was ejected for taunting, but the rest of the team knew they could keep it going. Midway through the fourth, the Vanguards were awarded an indirect kick just 12 yards out, but Todd Schreiner comes up with a huge save to keep Valley off the board. The defense brought it home from here, and this 2-0 win moved the Aces through to the quarterfinals and a date with 4th-ranked Neshaminy. The Aces hadn't reached the quarterfinals since 1990, so the anticipation was high as they prepared to meet 4th-seeded Neshaminy. As the introductions were made, you could tell that there was an air of quiet confidence as they were playing their best soccer of the year and at the right time. The opening tap finally came, and both teams knew that the winner would move on to the semifinals and a possible district title and state playoff spot, and the loser would end their season. One of the keys for the Aces would be to shut down the Indians' high-scoring junior, Parham Parsa, and Michael Goldberg drew the assignment, and in fact would hold him to no shots on goal for the night. The first quarter was a kind of feeling out period, and as it ended, neither team was able to get any good shots on goal. However, just 2 minutes into the second, Neshaminy number 23 mishits a cross from 30 yards out, and as luck would have it, the ball carried right over goalkeeper Todd Schreiner's head, and the Aces were behind 1-0.
In the middle. Center.
Midway through the second, the Aces almost tied it as a nice Todd Davidson cross gave several LM players a good look at the net.
Come on, come on.
The Indians' first good shot on goal came with 5 minutes left in the half, but Schreiner makes a beautiful save. Early in the third, it was number 23 again, but his turnaround rip is punched over the bar by Schreiner.
Good through, Sean. Good shot, Scotty.
After the third period, the scoreboard showed that the Aces were down to their last 20 minutes, and some offensive adjustments had been made, and it was time to go for broke. Well, it paid off as the scoring chances started to come. Midway through the fourth, Michael Goldberg put a nice ball through to Todd Davidson, whose shot goes just wide.
Well, Mike. Come on. Come on. Oh, damn it. Damn it.
Just a minute later, Nate Laver takes the baseline and finds Bob Lentz going strong to the goal. And with 9 minutes left, it was all even at 1.
Come on, Jake. Yeah, Jake. Yeah. Come on, Nate. Yeah! 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 Let's go, Ellen!
2 minutes later, the Aces got a chance to take the lead when they got a free kick just outside the penalty box. But Nate Laver's curving attempt couldn't get past the last defender.
Let's go, number 19.
With less than 4 minutes remaining, it looked like overtime, but the Indians connected on a cross with the shot finding a path into the left corner, and once again, the Aces were in the hole by a goal. LM buzzed in the Chamonix net with less than a minute left, but it just wasn't going to happen. When the final whistle blew, it signaled the end of a real good playoff run, a run that no doubt would have continued had the Aces been able to dress John Hanks. But through the disappointment, they had to feel very proud, both of their fine season and of the way they had finished. Despite losing several key players for long stretches, they still contended for the league title up until the last week of the season. With everyone finally back in place, they recorded 2 very impressive playoff shutouts. One, a 2-0 domination of 5th-seeded Sun Valley, and proved that they very easily could have been the best team in the district at the end of the season. They finished 14-6-2, ranked 10th in southeastern Pennsylvania, and certainly were a deserving candidate for Gloryland.
It started with a feeling, and a dream was born in you. You hope and pray that come the day you'll see that dream come true. With every passing moment, you begin to understand that you're bound for glory land. With a hunger in your heart and with fire in your soul, with passion rising high, you know that you can reach your goal. Reach your goal. Believe in what you do, and you've the strength to see it through. On the road to glory land. Glory land. Glory land. Can I say glory land? In glory land. It's in your heart. It's in your hand. Glory land. Glory land. You're here in glory land. Yeah, yeah, yeah. This is glory land. Glory. As the day gets ever closer, you are reaching for the sky. The flames that burn inside are the flames that never die. When you start to believe, it's in your heart, it's in your hand. You know this is glory.